like and subscribe.
Welcome to Soulcast. I'm Yara Igihon. Today I'm joined by a producer, writer and director who works across both film and TV with a clear and unwavering focus on Black, queer and female-led stories. She founded Joi Productions in 2016, produced the breakout hit Blue Story in 2019, and since then she's gone on to produce Boxing Day, the UK's first all-Black Christmas film, Champion for the BBC and Netflix, and most recently, Animal, Ashley Walters' directorial debut, Joi Gharoro-Akpojotor.
This is like the best intro ever.
Welcome to the Soulcast.
Woo!
Listen, it's so good to have you here. And one of the things that I make this joke with a lot of people where if I phone them, they call me back. I'm like, oh my God, I feel like a really big deal right now. But honestly, being able to still get you on the phone, considering everything you've done, is one of the great pleasures of my existence. Do you know what I mean? It's like when we first met, I think you'd made a short.
Yeah, it was a while ago.
I think you'd just done a short.
I think I did Haircut.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You just made a short film. And then it just seems like you've just been able to keep going and keep building and going on and going forward. And I think the thing that's most impressive is that you've actually built a production business in the UK in an era that most people are talking about being one of the most difficult times for the film and TV industry. So congratulations.
Thank you.
I'm out of work at the moment, so I figure I should let you know. So talk to me about, I want to talk to you about building your own business, but I want to go back a little bit before that and start to understand how you end up in the role of producer.
I fell into a role of producer. I wasn't trying to be a producer. I was actually trying to be a writer and director.
Okay.
When I first yonks ago started. I knew I loved telling stories. And I went to uni. Actually, I was doing the wrong course, but my mum was like, c'est la vie.
What course was it?
Well, I was doing film studies, so I was an international student. So, she's got to pay money.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, this is about film critique, not filmmaking.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, I think I picked the wrong course. And she's like, well, that is it. That's where the money is. So I stayed in it. Yeah. But it was actually really good because I learned so much about just the history of film that I didn't know before. And then I was like, I want to make films. And so I ended up doing this, I made a short film that has never seen the light of day because
okay. One of those.
Many reasons. And I think at the time I was actually struggling to get to make the kind of stuff I wanted to make. I wanted someone else to produce me because obviously I wanted to make stuff that I could see myself on screen. And I was like, but where are all the Black lesbians and where are all the queers? I can't find anybody. Okay, fine, they don't exist maybe. And I used to work in a betting shop. And then because I would bang on so much about making films, the manager was like, there's somebody else in another shop who equally wants to make films as a director. You guys should talk. So he was like, I saved $3,000. I want to make a film. And I was like, might as well try. And it was my first time producing a short. And one of the actors was like, oh, you'd be a really good producer, Joy. And I was like, why? And she was like, because you're honest. Yeah. Because I would tell people how much money we don't have. Yeah. And turns out I was good at organizing. And so after that, I then sort of bought a bunch of books trying to figure out who and what is a producer. And only one book told me was A Killer Life by Christine Vachon, and which basically was a diary of a producer, which was absolute hell. But I was like, I want to do that. And then it was after that, I was like, how do I do this thing called producing? So I just started to work with random people and do shorts and anything I could find to do. And that's how I kind of got here, I guess. I wasn't in the industry. I didn't even know what the industry was. It was the Illuminati that you join. And it was something that I only got into after making a bunch of shorts. I made 2 no-budget feature films, 45K, 30K feature films. And one of them got into LFF. This was 2016. And when that happened, I was like, oh, this is what the industry is. And you sort of realize I met so many people who'd already like, I, I always say had the privilege of working as a runner, then an assistant, and then there's that. And I think the way I came in was also a privilege because I never knew what it was like to be a runner. And so me coming into the industry as a producer, I think people were a bit like, who are you? Where are you from? What did you do? How are you here? And then I think having a film at LFF and then suddenly 3 years later making Blue Story, again, it was like, what?
Yeah.
Who are you? It just
'Cause the
happened.
thing is, the Blue Story thing is really interesting because obviously one would assume that obviously that story comes out of Rapman and it comes out of that sort of online reflection of this kind of quiet road thing. And I've known you for a long time, but you've never struck me as particularly road.
I had my moments. Let me tell you something real quickly.
So it's like, how do you become the producer that brings that to life? Because I'd assume it was going to be someone coming out of that scene as much.
I think I don't know whether it's a godly intervention or a series of like I don't know good coincidences, but so what had happened was I had just made Haircut with Kobe, which is also kind of a road film as well.
Yep.
So set in the same world.
And it's really interesting because I think that's how we met.
That's
because
how we met.
Because we screened it at an event at the BFI.
Yeah.
And so that's when we
first
started talking.
And I think like, even though I'm not from the world, I was sort of like adjacent.
Yeah.
I mean, I went to school in my sixth form was in Hackney, and it was I know a few things here and there.
I've seen some stuff.
A little bit. Also, I went to boarding school back in Nigeria. That's roads. It's hard life.
Yeah, that's where people who messed up here. That's where they got sent. Do you know what I mean? I remember.
And I didn't even do anything bad. They were just like, I think because I got 4 older brothers. I think my oldest 3, mum was like, they didn't turn out too good. You two, I'm just like preempting it. You're just gonna go back home to Nigeria, boarding school. You're gonna come out right. Yeah. And so that was it. So I feel like I had a lot of experience that spoke to, I guess a different world and a different way of doing things, a different engagement. And also, Dagenham is like super working class in that area. So when me and Kobe we did Haircut, and then at the time I just got signed to Independent because I had a script that I was writing, which is the feature film I ended up doing like a couple of years ago. And I think Raps had just signed to them as well. Yeah. And Damien Jones, who is also a producer on Blue Story, he was looking for a producer to work with who was going to do more of the like heavy lifting stuff. And Anwar, who was Raps' agent at the time, was like, oh, why don't you think about Joi? Because she's just done Haircut and this is the film and da-da-da-da. And so, he reached out to me. We met, we talked. He was like, have you seen Shira's Story? And I was like, no, heard of it, but I haven't watched it. I think Shira's Story 3 was dropping that weekend. And so he sent me the script to read for Blue Story. And I think 3 dropped on Sunday. Tuesday, me and Damien met. And literally, I was like, yeah, I'll do it. I think as soon as I said it, he had already drafted the emails to everybody. So it was like, he knew I was going to say yes. He was like, okay, cool. Send. I'm thinking, what if I said no? But I would have been a fool to say no. So it was a case of the Wednesday or the Thursday, we were meeting BBC Film. Like, it was really just like, it was going because he was very much like, momentum, time, let's go. And I think what I brought to the film in terms of like, even though like, I don't know at the time, like a lot about road history, but I do know how to make things in a way that is cost effective and gives you quality and also like values people. And I think doing Blue Story was definitely a place in which I could take all of my learnings from doing like no budget films into action. But also I learned so much more from that,
From the outside looking in, the thing that I think like, and it'd be interesting to hear your perspective on this, is because the thing that it appears to me that you achieved with Blue Story is that you managed to keep it being Rap's voice.
Yeah.
that's the thing that seems to me from the outside looking in, that's the great achievement, because that's the thing that seems like it's very, very difficult to make happen in this industry, where you get this thing, this really authentic, true thing. You know, I mean, I'm not saying that all of that stuff is true, but it's authentic in terms of who Rap is and what he was saying, right? And I think that's one of the great achievements, that you actually managed to get to the end of the process and it still felt like Rap's
Yeah.
thing.
I mean, we weren't trying to change what he does. If anything, everybody was bought into what he does. It was more about how can we shape what he's doing to meet a wider audience. How do we tell the story in 90 minutes? Because, you know, you're so used to consuming him in, like, at that time, I think it was like 20 minutes for Shira's story. And also people were used to having like songs continuously. And this was like less music in that way of what he used to do on YouTube. So the question was more about how do we just make it more cinematic, and how do we make it feel like a studio film? And so it was more about how do we make it bigger, not how do we change him. And so we're thinking more about story beats and what characters are doing. And we had a great editor in Imdamira who really came in and helped to shape as well in that post stage. I would say, like, nobody was trying to take away from him and his voice. I think we wanted it to feel like it was all about what he does and what he's really good at. So I think it was easy in that sense.
Because you say that like that's the normal way of going. I think that's the thing that you're doing, where it's like, okay, yeah, it's entirely normal. You've kind of completely normal that we would make that it's about his voice and what the story he's trying to tell. And I just think that in any other situation, it would have been, that doesn't happen, is my experience of seeing things.
Yeah. I mean, I think for me, like, one of the things I always say to people, which is why I'm always like, at Joi Productions, the way we work is we're not trying to change it. If you bring something to us and we like it, then we like it. We're not going to take it and then be like, oh, actually, let's make it into a horror film, because then it's not what you want to do. Our thing is like, how do we take a filmmaker's voice or writer's voice, and how do we help them become a better writer or a better filmmaker, and help them still have their authenticity in a cinematic space. I'm never trying to change people. At least I hope I'm not trying to change people. And I feel like if we get to a point where I'm like, oh, we're making two different things, then we shouldn't be working together. Not because I don't love the project, but because I want whoever's making it to feel like they love the project as well. I think the worst thing is to make a film and then you're like, oh, that's not what I wanted to make, because, you know, you can't change it. So I really want to, where possible, enhance, not take away, not change.
The other thing that we have to talk about with Blue Story is just the reaction when it comes out.
Yeah.
Because that was one of the nuttiest things.
It was crazy.
Like, I mean, I think from your perspective, I'm like, what was going on and what was that like?
Do you know, it's actually funny. I was having a conversation earlier on today about, like, I think it's two things. I think when you put marketing money behind, like, Black work, people will go and see it. I think sometimes this whole idea of, like, oh, no one goes to watch Black cinema and we can't make Black films, there's no making the money. Yeah, because you're not putting the same amount of money you will put into my man's from over there. Like, if you give that guy $1 million for his P&A, give us $1 million too. And I bet you probably get a similar reaction, because I think with Blue Story, like, Paramount put so much money behind that sort of, like, marketing. Like, and nearly every bus you walk past, nearly like every station you were going past, there was a poster. You could not ignore the film. Yeah. And so that opening weekend when it came out, obviously there was a bit of madness in terms of it taken out of cinema. But I would say I think it came out the Friday night, but by the Saturday, made our money back. Wow. But I think that's because there was enough marketing behind it that meant people went to go see it. And, you know, it's that thing of, like, no press is bad press. So obviously there's a whole thing that happened. View Cinema took it out. And then, I mean, we spent the next, like, nearly every day in the news that week about this whole, like, boycott, censorship of Blue Story that was happening, and eventually got put back. But all of that as well made audiences that normally would not have seen this film be like, what is this? What's going on here? Let me go have a little look at this film. And suddenly you have like 50-year-old white men doing reviews on YouTube about Blue Story. And I think that's a beautiful thing. But I also think part of it is because there was such a big drive to go see it because the marketing budget behind it meant that you couldn't ignore the film. So for me, I think it's a great example of when you really push something, people will go watch it.
I remember hearing stories about basically, the film came out as a 15.
Yeah.
And lots of kids who obviously were following rap from YouTube were much younger than that. And they showed up at the cinema and were told they couldn't come in.
They used to buy frozen tickets and go and watch Blue Story.
And that was what happened. So there was all this kind of fuss about there was all this trouble at the Blue Story screening. But basically it was just essentially just kids who really wanted to see it really badly and just weren't going to take no for an answer. And I remember thinking at one point that like literally if you could help like the film industry. You've got young people literally banging down the door trying to get into the cinema. And it's like, that's what everybody's trying to get. Do you know what I mean? So it's this incredible moment for like British cinema that, the story, the timing of it, the story you were telling, that the bigger story that it became, all these things kind of happened at once, which I suppose you can't plan.
You can't plan. Nobody plans for it. But again, I think visibility just helps. I mean, I always think like, imagine if there wasn't that big campaign and it was just like, okay, Rap's had a good few 100,000 on his Instagram, but they're not all going to go watch the film. And imagine if it was just like, oh, a few buses here and there, and then he puts it on his Instagram and that's it. Like, I don't think we would have had the same reaction as what we had in terms of like all these kids wanting to go watch it because they know about it. Like because also thinking back to one of our challenges of thinking about it was how do we get kids from YouTube to pay money to watch the film? Because, YouTube is free, accessible. And it turns out like, just have to make sure they all know the film is in cinemas only. And so they're forced to sort of like go and pay for it. I mean, and one person said about how they watch a film 7 times. And that's like crazy. But it also tells you there's such a massive audience that doesn't feel seen in cinema and will pay to go watch the film if they know it's there,
So, I mean, that is an incredible moment. And for a lot of people, that's the thing. It's like, okay, that's the pinnacle. They've got to the top of the line. Well done. And we never get to hear from them. How many producers or directors are like one and done in this business? So how do you make the transition to go, because, start building your own company, and like, how do you make sure that actually because Blue Story is 2019. So here we are, like, 7 years down the road, and you're still putting out films and you're still here. So how do you make sure that happens? How do you build on the momentum? Or
God, at the time, survival, bills to pay, things to do. They used to have the BFI British Institute used to have like the Vision Awards, and they would give you a little bit of money to help you precisely with that. And I think
so you, because obviously you're a Vision Award winner.
Yeah, I mean, I was part of the last set that got it. But I should say before that, I would like, I think when you have intentions, manifestation, all of that stuff, I did have in my mind, like, I wanted to be able to like have a company at some point in time that allowed me the space to do this. And but like, I think it was 2016 when I first started the company. There was a thing called Filmmakers that Mia Bays was doing at the time. And there was a producer course, and you had to like write down like, your USP and all this and that. And I remember Joi Productions, it was like Black, queer, female led, and everyone was like, they said to me, "Oh, it's very niche, it's very like specific." And I was like, okay. I mean, look at me now. I'm still a niche. But I remember thinking like the ultimate goal would be to get investment in the company, to keep me going, to build a slate. How I was going to do these things, I had no idea at the time. But I just knew that like these are the things I wanted to do and how I wanted to go. And so after Blue Story, I think with the Vision Awards, I applied for it. And the thing was really about how do I build a slate? And, initially I was getting sent a lot more like Blue Story-esque films.
Yeah.
But because I was very clear that my vision, it was like, I want to expand how we see Black cinema across genres in cinemas, just generally, like, I want to go see a Black horror. I want to go out of the UK specifically. I want to go see all these different things in the cinema. So I want to make sure that I'm doing all of it. And I did that. And I also wanted to get like someone to come in part-time to work with me, like, in terms of head of production, and also to help me build the slate. And so that was my sort of like my pitch for the Vision Awards. And I think at the time I had like maybe a couple of projects that come my way that I'd put forward. And then I got Pida, who used to work with Steve McQueen, who's still doing some amazing stuff now as a script editor. And so at the time she wasn't working with him, it was just me and her. But like what was good about that was when I got the Vision Awards, that she really helped me shape what Joi Productions was soon becoming to be in those early days. Like, there were some scripts that we optioned. We had meetings with writers. It was just about figuring out what the DNA was for me at the time. And then I did Boxing Day after that.
So this is the Amel Amin. So he's the director, the writer, the star of this film. And so I'm again looking from the outside. That looks like a difficult producer job.
But the thing is, with that, I came in a bit later on because again, Damien. So I think that was already happening, and they were looking for a UK producer on the ground, and Damien was already on it, and then he was like, "You guys should work with Joi." So I came on much later when they were sort of like already, I think, in the casting stage of it. So that's when I came on board to sort of like, because there were two other American producers as well. And so we had this like little family of people, which was kind of fun and cute. But it was also hard because we're shooting during COVID. So that was very difficult. But I think around that time, for me, what was good was that I sort of got to a place where I had been building my slate to kind of give me a kind of identity in film. And there are projects that have not gone far. Some I've had to let go of. But I think that the thing is that I've been trying to figure out what is me and Tom, who I work with now, we talk about the Joi Productions thing. What is our thing? How do we see the world? And it's always about everyone goes right, we go left. We're trying to like not change genre. Actually, if anything, I want to just make sure you have multiple perspectives. So if we're doing an action movie, okay, why can't this character be Black, be Asian, be trans, be whoever? Because that in itself already changes the world because the way they will see things completely different. That thing about like the authenticity of it all. We're never trying to change what an audience thinks they know. We want to add to what you think you know and change a little bit. But did Boxing Day with those guys, which is fun. And then after that, I then got offered a deal, which was like in the production company. You're talking about how do you become sustainable. So, and I think when it happened, I was like, oh, this is what I wanted. Like, I wanted to find a way to be able to do stuff without always relying on like the film for the BBC, which for money for development initially. But I got offered a deal by a company who took a stake in
Joi Productions.
Okay. Which then sort of meant I had a nice new restart again in 2021, 22, something like that. And I brought on Tom, who now works with me in Joi Productions 2.0. Okay. And that was when we started thinking about TV as well.
So, so many questions. I mean, and the thing is, people really want me to ask these questions because obviously you're one of the few people who's actually managed to build a business that's kind of been running for a few years and you've made films and you've made TV. So how do you start becoming a high-end TV producer? When does that happen?
It was actually during Boxing Day. I think I have to, give a shout out to Candice.
Yeah. This Candice Carty-Williams, writer of Champion.
Yeah, and also Daniel Scott Horton. May her soul rest in peace. because I remember they were the ones that were like, we want Joy to produce Champion.
Wow.
And I remember getting on the call with both of them. And I was on the set of Boxing Day actually when we had a Zoom, and I think they sent me the script. I think they sent me the pilot. I read it, and um, then we had a Zoom. It was great. It was hilarious. We had a good
Yeah.
time.
I can
It
well
was a
imagine.
great time. It was a
Yeah.
great. And to be honest with you, like I would say they're the ones that were like, we want Joy, and they gave me a chance.
Yeah.
Because actually around that time, I think I also met somebody else, a different company, who were thinking about like maybe I can produce a TV show for them. And I think they felt like it was quite a big show, for my first one, it was too big. Whereas I think with Champion was really great. Was that I came on super early.
Yep.
I came on like when they just got green lit, so writers' rooms were happening. Like I was super, and I was in it with like Balloon and new pictures. Like those guys were really just like happy for me to be part of whatever. And I think originally I was meant to produce all 8 episodes. I think I did the first 6 episodes, and then I'm gonna have to go do my own film. But it was such a, I think being allowed the chance to do all that stuff, which is not, I don't take it lightly, because I think TV producing can feel like producing for hire, which it is. But I think these guys allowed me a space to feel like I was also creatively involved. Um, so I think it's about people giving you the chance to just be like, here, we want you, we want to support you, come do it with us. That was probably the reason why I got Champion. So it's down to those guys.
How much are you prepared, willing, allowed to say about the fact there's no Champion Series 2 and we never get to find out what happened to Bosco?
Go boycott Candice. Go boycott, but go petition Candice. Go petition Candice.
So is it really just about Candice not wanting to do more?
Go Oscar, innit?
Wow. Yeah. All right, so there you go. That's the official request. You can hook it up. Let's get Candice
go petition
on
her to
Let's
go
get
to
her on
season
here.
2, because everyone wants to know what happens to Bosco, and then see what she says.
It's a really interesting show, because obviously, I suppose the Blue Story thing, because of the music portion of that and the fact of where it comes from, I suppose that has an effect on why you're the ideal producer for Champion.
Do you know what? Yeah, it's so funny, because like I think after Champion, I was like, am I the music producer? Because on Boxing Day as well, we also had a bit of music with Leanne singing and whatnot, and everyone's okay. So Joy, how do we do this? And I'm like, and actually, I'm doing. There was another film in post, and a similar thing. There was like music involved, and I was like, I think I'm the music producer now. But yeah, I mean, I think Champion was definitely 10 steps forward than Blue Story in terms of the music of it all, and how in tandem of shooting the show and creating or what you see on screen, then also creating the music behind the scenes. And like Danny honestly like led a lot on that front in terms of just like making sure that the cast could rehearse for their performances. Then we had to find studios in Birmingham. They went in, they got recorded, the producers. It was such a team effort between Candice and Danny, and how we just sort of it was like producing 2 things at once. It's like you had the actual scripted stuff, but then you also really had to make sure you were on top of like producing the music as well, as you went through each phase or each 2 or 3 episodes, and then thinking about how you shoot the music. And bless the directors of actually trying to figure out the best way to incorporate it, because I think doing like live action and then having to think about, oh, now we've got like a 3-minute song and that's got to feel slightly different from what I just shot. It's a lot to think about.
Yeah. So obviously in Boxing Day, Blue Story, Champion, you're being brought on. But obviously over the last couple of years we started to see real like full on Joi Productions coming out. So talk me through that timeline of how we start to see and get those things coming out.
Because I think, like I said, it was like Joi 2.0, and there's still a few things that I in my BFI Vision days that are sort of materializing now. I think for me, there was always a vision. There was always like an intention of what I wanted to do. And like I said, with the Vision Awards, it was like, how do I start to curate what that is? And then when I got some money in the company, it was, okay, now I can really curate what that is and really, work with people that enhance that vision. And so with Animal, with Ashley and Nick, that was at Film 4. And then, like, they, it was sort of like, I think they'd done a year at Film 4 and they were looking for producers and they were like, oh, let's talk to Joy. So we all spoke and we were like, okay, cool, let's do this together. Did a bit more work on the script.
So you make that sound really easy. I just spoke to Ashley. We had a quick chat. He said, "Yeah, let's do it." Just, I mean, I think you did right. I think that whole thing about what you're, that sort of confidence and safety that people like, because you gloss over it.
Oh, but because for me, I have like a massive imposter syndrome, so I'm very much like, I'm not that confident. I'm not any.
Yeah, but like repeatedly, like you've got these very kind of, because like, I mean, people who have not had the pleasure of meeting Amel. Amel's intense.
He's a great guy.
Yeah, but like, like he's a really super clear vision. And Rap's the same.
Yeah.
Really, really super clear vision. And Ashley, again, so repeatedly, over and over and over again, you're making these guys feel like, that you're their partner and they feel safe and they want to put it in. And I think you potentially gloss over how,
do you know what,
incredible that is. Do you see what I mean?
I do, and I appreciate that. I appreciate that. But I think it's because coming from the industry outside, like the way I worked before was, people were the most important thing. So I had to make sure that people felt good because I didn't have any money. Like, making a feature film on we shot 5 weeks on one of the ones we made. We didn't have any money to shoot. And so you had to make sure that people felt looked after and people felt like happy. And so for me...
So not all producers see that as their job. Do you know what I mean? A lot of places you go, it's like you get what they don't. Some producers don't see it as part of their job about making the environment good and making people feel good about being there. A lot of people, you should consider yourself lucky to be here.
No,
just, I mean, that's a lot of how producers go about things. So I think you underestimate the value and the importance of how you're able to pull these things together, and create these situations where people feel like they can work. Yeah, that seems to me to be a real kind of a through line through all these projects.
I think for me it's like, regardless of what I'm doing, people are the most important thing, because if they don't feel like you're looking after them, then they're not going to do any good work. So for me, it's always about, how can we make sure people feel heard, seen? Even if I don't have money, I will hear you. I would try to do what I can, and I will be as transparent as I can, so that we're on the same page. Because it's important for them to trust me in whatever process that we're in, and maybe I gloss over it because it's just part of how I approach my work. And I also believe in Jollof Fridays. So when there's Jollof, everybody is happy. Yeah. So that's also a thing for me. On where possible, if I can on a shoot on Friday. I mean, I did it on my film, but every Friday, we had jollof rice and plantain. And even on Amel's one, like, it was a couple of days. So one day we had Mama J came down with like some lobster tails, some jollof, some plantain, the whole works. People are happy when you feed them really well because it shows you're looking after them. So it's important for me those things exist. So maybe that's why they feel safe, because they're like, yeah, Joy's looking after it. But I'm not trying to change who they are as people. I'm trying to let them be themselves and just enhance.
Yeah. So let's get into that first big Joi production, that, the first thing that that is your thing in the Joi 2.0.
So that's Animals, actually, the film that just came out in Berlin.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the first out there Joi 2.0.
Because where does Dreamers sit in this?
Well, Dreamers is kind of like, it's me and Emily Morgan, who's my producer.
Yeah.
So like, I began the Dreamers journey like years ago, but then she as a producer came on in 2020 and sort of became a new thing. And so she did a great job. And I think for me,
Because this is like, so this is an interesting thing as well. So you're not the producer on this one.
I'm an exec producer. That's about it. But it's my writing, directing. I wasn't trying to produce because I also know how hard it is to produce.
And it's different. Like, I think it gets to a point where there's only so many hats on a single project.
I'm not trying to be involved in all of the madness that goes on. But also, I think what Dreamers, what's beautiful about that is all the things I'm talking to you about, like people and loving people and making them they feel good. I think what anyone who works in Dreamers will say to you is they had a great time on the set. It was crazy 4 weeks, but we all had fun. And I think that's because, again, valuing people and being transparent and letting people know what you need from them. Yeah. And I think allowing them to do their job as well is really important. I think for me as a director, coming in from producing, I understand everyone's role. And so I never try to act like I know everything, because I don't. When it comes to technical, the who, the what, I don't know anything. Like, my dear people are like, oh, what lens do you want? Whatever looks good. I ain't got a clue.
To the
I ain't got a clue what lens is going on.
You're saying, the producer head on your feet, talk to the director, and then you go,
that's me, innit?
Oh, no.
I don't know what that is. We're talking to somebody else. But I think, but I also think, I know exactly what I want. Yeah. But I'm also very much like, everyone can feed into that. Yeah. But I usually have my decision anyway. But I think it's about letting people know and feel like they can come and speak to you, regardless of whether I'm a director or a producer. Actually, as a producer, I usually prefer to come on set and nobody knows I'm a producer. Yeah. Unless, of course, the HODs and whoever. But there are times when I've been on my own set and somebody walks into the video village and they got a clue who I am. And they're just chatting. I'll prefer that because it's not that they can be themselves. And sometimes you're like, oh my God, is a producer? And I'm like, I really don't care, because it means I can understand what is going on the set, if we're doing a good job or a bad job, and we can change. But I'm not one, hierarchy exists, but I'm not one for like, oh, I'm the producer, you got to listen to me.
So look, talk to me, like, imagine I don't know what Dreamers is. And how do you pitch it to me? What's...
I don't know how to pitch it myself, when I made the film. It's a love story set in a removal center. So like, S.O.U.L, she's caught working without papers. She comes in, she falls in love with her roommate, and then she's got to make a decision whether she picks love or freedom. There's a bit of an escape movie in there. There's a bit of a magic realism in there. Ultimately, it's a love story.
And people will be able to see this
on BFI iPlayer.
Wow.
Because it was in cinemas end of last year.
Of course.
And now it's in the iPlayer.
When we are both out, I will take you on a proper date. What will our home be like?
We will make it ours.
And we wouldn't have to hide our love.
Talk to me about Animals. So Animals just done Berlin.
Just done, Berlin premiere in Perspectives. Yeah. Also won the FIPRESCI Award, which is like a international critics go to different festivals and they give films awards, and we're in the first feature category. Yeah. And so for them, they awarded us the best debut feature at Berlinale. Okay, so
what because we hear about awards, what does that mean? Does that like...
I ain't got no money in the bank, that's for sure.
Do you get a nice bauble? What do you
actually does. I don't get nothing. I'm just like...
Oh, no.
No, but it's great. It's a great award because it just means that I think the thing about it, especially in the festival circuit, is I think getting these awards just, I guess, helps you in your journey, and also tells other people this is a film to look out for, and this is a film you should be excited about in the grand scheme of things, really.
Okay. So, obviously, I mean, I get why you produced the Ashley Walters debut film.
Yeah.
I feel like that guy's got, like, at this point, I think he's got a future in this business.
Maybe, possibly. Who knows? But I sometimes I wonder about... at the time when we were doing... Like, listen, we got really lucky again. I would say lucky is a mistake. By the time when we were, like... we agreed to make the film with him and Nick Love, no one can predict the future.
Yeah.
Just really loved the script. And I really love what Ashley wanted to do with it. And that was really it. I mean, it wasn't because it's Ashley. I mean, that's a bonus.
Yeah.
But it was more like the script is good. It fits in what we're trying to do. And we help shape it a bit more into that. And yeah, and then, years later, we come to go shoot it, and we were meant to shoot actually we shot last year? I think earlier, before he shot Adolescence, we were meant to shoot, but we didn't shoot for scheduling reasons. We shot a bit later. And we shot last year actually. And then who knew that it was going to do what it did Adolescence? Like nobody knew. And at the time, luckily for us, Stephen Graham agreed to be in our film for like he played like a small role in the film. And next thing we sat there going, oh God, we've got fucking Stephen, we got actually what's going on? Yeah. And I think it's a beautiful thing that what's happening with him and his career, and just like this sort of like resurgence, and the people kind of going, oh my God, Ashley's amazing. But when you see Animal, you were like, oh, God really gave him all the talents, because it's a beautiful film. It's such a beautiful film. And I think he's done a great job with it. And I think people are going to watch it and really look at him as a filmmaker. And it's not a film they're going to expect to see coming out of him, but it's a beautiful, poetic, elegant film.
So you are someone who really works with talent and develops them.
Yeah.
So what are you looking for when somebody brings you, here's a writer or here's a director? What are the things that kind of make you go, ooh?
I'm like, have you got a voice? And by that I just mean, if I watch your film, do I go, oh, that's beautiful? And it hasn't got to be like, I don't know, anything big. It's just like the way you've approached it makes me feel something. I really feel like art, cinema, doesn't matter, whatever it is, should make me feel, make anyone feel. It's about connecting people and sharing experiences. So I want to watch things that make me feel something. I think sometimes I can watch something and it's beautiful pictures and all that kind of stuff and great perspective, but I feel nothing, and I'm just like, okay, that was cute. But if I watch a film and I'm like, okay, maybe visually it could have been A, B, C, D, but God, I felt a lot.
Yeah.
And I know I can come in and help that filmmaker become a better version of themselves. And that's ultimately what I want to do, is any filmmaker I'm working with, how do I help you and myself become better versions? And how do we make people feel things that remind us of humanity and just the human condition and who we are? And that is genuinely why I make films. So I think doing that, but in a commercial way of I can feel, but I can also make money. The two are not like exclusive to each other. So genre is how we do it. We do a lot of genre work because people understand that quite easily. But I think if we can find a way to just shift it slightly, I think that goes a long way,
So this is an interesting kind of conversation as well, because obviously you're developing new people, you're making a business that works as well. How are you like kind of navigating that line between the two things? Like when does it, because like the thing, it seems like you get this situation with like Blue Story that feels like a break, a real kind of big break that kind of changes things. Have there been those moments along the way where you thought, okay, hold on a minute? Have you ever had that moment where you think, I don't know if this is going to work?
So many times, because I think it's hard, because obviously, like, we are still a business and people still want to make money, and I don't do it for the money, but we got to live in it.
Yeah.
And I think that bit is always difficult, where somebody comes to you with something, you're like, this is going to be like easy, we can go off, we'll make loads of money with this, but I'm not going to sleep well at night.
Yeah, wow.
I like in my soul, like in my being of like, this would be good to do because yes. But then I just feel like, what am I adding to the world by doing this? How am I making change? And so because of that, I'm like, oh, okay, I'm not going to do this or that. So it's hard to find that sweet spot genuinely. But I think for me, it's about making films that are for theatrical release.
Sure.
So I'm not making films that are mainstream. I'm making films commercial. I think, and for me, commercial doesn't mean like I'm going to make like 100 million at the box office. We'll make our money back and we'll all go into the distance and be happy. We're not going to make like loads of profit, but we'll make. But people are watching the film and they'll find it after the box office, and they'll find it in like VOD or whatever it is, right? So I sort of think about that bracket instead, and I'm not thinking about like I gotta make loads and loads. I think if I was doing that, I don't know, my house would be bigger.
Have you, like, you know, because obviously you're being quite particular and you're kind of going, I think I can do something with this. I don't think I can do something with this. And I'm, you know, because I don't think so, I'm not going to do it. Are there any on that pile that you think you've looked at and you think, oh, maybe I should have done that one? Do you have any regrets on any of those ones that you've turned down? You know, like Sean Connery turns down Lord of the Rings. And Will Smith turns down The Matrix. Like, is amongst that pile, is your Matrix in there somewhere?
It's not, you know. Do you know what? I think for me, even the ones I say no to, I genuinely want them to make their films.
Yeah.
It's just that I just know I'm not the right vessel to do it with them. But I'm always like, I want you to make your films. I want you to have a good film life. I want it to be, I want to see it in the world. I want to go to the cinemas and watch it. But I know I can't be the person to take you there. So I'm actually okay. I think for me, and the irony of life is that like there's things that not that we said no to, but they said no to us originally, and we're like, oh God, yeah. But then like 4 years later, it's like, oh, do you guys?
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, it's come back to us. But stuff like that happens, and that's where I'm really happy. I think, you know, me and Tom always talk about integrity in the work that we do because we really want to sleep well at night. So everything that we do, we really talk about it like, are we passionate about it? If I'm not passionate about it, then I can't go on the journey with you. And the director, producer journey, writer journey, it's a love affair. Like, you know, I've had situations in the past where I have argued with directors and I was like midnight. And I don't have to do that. I don't, it's not why I do it. And so I've come to a place where I have no regrets. If anything, I regret people saying no to me, and I'm like, you're making a mistake. But it's okay. It's, you know, swings and roundabouts. And there are a couple of projects where we tried and no one took it. And then you wait a year and suddenly everybody wants that particular thing because now it's in fashion, because our industry can be a bit fickle. But no, I have no regrets so far.
Excellent. All right, so I want to build my own production company.
Yeah.
Right. So what do I do? What are you telling me? What's like? So imagine I've put like a nice check in front of you, and I'm saying, Joy, consult for me. We're building our own production.
Where's the check?
Look, this is where I need you to put your producer head. Imagine. Imagine.
I can't imagine a check.
We're like
I'm Nigerian. Where's the money? But I think the one thing I always say to producers is, who are you as a producer?
Yeah.
Because that determines the work you're going to do. I think sometimes people think building a slate is just like, I just got to find projects that are going to make it. But, you know, there are projects that, like Animal, when it came in 2021, 22, whatever, 21, I think it was, I generally thought I was going to make it the following year. But we didn't make it until last year because, you know, these things take time, reworking. And they had a script when they came, but we had to make some changes. And then you start going around trying to find the right financiers. So for me, that's long term. And you need to have the passion and the ability to keep going when you have the no's. And even when you get all these no's, to kind of go, okay, how can I reshape this? So, but that comes from you knowing who you are as a producer and what makes you tick. So I'm always a bit like, first up with who you are as a producer, i.e., what do you want the world to know about you? That's where I always start from. And then once you figure that out, you then go off building a slate. Simple slate, nothing too big. I think just have like initial 5 to 6 projects, if you can. Figuring out like whether that be a treatment stage or script stage, just figuring out like, okay, how do they complement each other? Because we know from that 5 to 6 projects, you're only going to make like maybe 1 if you're lucky, or 2. Because that's the reality of filmmaking.
This is good stuff. I feel like there's a point at which, right, I'm going to pretend this is a podcast, but I'm just going to be just sucking information out of you for my own personal sort of thing. So I have to try and keep it broad, make sure that this is for everyone, not just a personal sort of a personal thing for me. But I'm really fascinated about that focus over time, because you're saying, okay, Animal comes in the door at 2021, it actually gets made in 2025, right? You know, that's a long.
It's a long time. But also
I mean, like think, you know, that's 4 years.
Yeah. But also you got to have a plan. And like, you know, like I said, I got lucky because I had a deal, so it's okay to take along. But like when the deal came, it also forces you to. You got to think of what is your 3-year plan, 5-year plan. I mean, I don't do a 10-year plan partly because I'm like, it's a bit too far. But I do a 3 to 5 in that I look at the projects that we have, and we sit down, we kind of go, okay, what stages are they all in, and when could they potentially go, knowing that things can move a little bit left and right. But the aim is that if we want this to go in this year, we just got to keep pushing. And then in between that, as we're figuring out like what is going when, what we're making, then I can start thinking about, are we going to take in anything new? Like right now, because we've just made 3 films, but during that time we've had like a few other developments within our slate. I am not taking anything new on, partly because there's no capacity. But I also know that if we can get 2 or 3 things off again, next year I'll look for more stuff. But I think you always have to think about 3 to 5 years ahead. And I think to be realistic as well, I think sometimes, you know, people think, oh yeah, I'll do a treatment now, and in like 2 years I'm making a film. Takes about 6 months to a year to just finance a film. So you put that to one side. It would take you about 3 years to just write something that people want to read to then potentially finance. So that's already 4 years before you make anything.
See, because that's the thing that I find fascinating. Like, you're 2 years into talking and conversations about Animal. How do you know to sink another 2 years into it? Like how do you know that? Like, oh, you know, how do you know not to cut your losses? Because 2 years and it still hasn't happened seems like.
Well, that's why I'm saying about like you got to be passionate about it.
Yeah.
You really, I think if the project is about who you are as a producer, then you're going to keep pushing,
Regardless,
because you know, no, for me, no is ever a no until it's a no.
All right, wait, what?
No, until everybody has told me no, it's not a no. There can be 10 of us in the room and none of you say no. Some people stop at the 3rd or 4th no. I just keep going. And even if we all say no, like all 10 of you said no, okay, fine. And I understand why you all said no. If I go off and I'm like, oh, let me just tweak this and this, I'm going to bring it back again. And then one of you will say yes. So for me, it's more about like when we were doing Animal, and we were changing stuff. Like, you know, Film 4 were great backers. They were like, they really believed in it. And together we were like, let's find a way to make this work. And we just kept going. And then like, Bankside came on board, and then Sky came on board, and BFI came on board. But that was a process of just like, let's just keep going because we believe in this project. Let's keep doing it. So that's what I mean about like, who are you as a producer? Do you have the energy to keep going when you get told no? Because you're always going to be told no. Like, I think, yes, I've made stuff, but I've had like many no's. Some stuff is in the background, in the back burner, in like the graveyard, and I might bring them out again one day when I'm like, oh, this is good for this situation. And you know, like there's a book series we're doing BBC Studios. Everyone told us no at the time. Took it all around. They all said no. And then last year I was having a conversation, and I was just like, oh, we've got this thing, da, 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 da. And they were like, oh, yeah, because we're looking for that now. And then they read the first book, and then they were like, what, there's 7 more books? I was like, yeah, it's like a whole thing, and da, 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 da. And then they were like, we want to do this. So now suddenly I have a yes.
So that's really interesting because like there are different types of no that I think that's quite interesting. So the thing is, it's not no, this is not any good. This was, at that point it was no, this isn't right for us now. But later it became, yes, this is right for us at this right time. So it's not just about, is the project good or is it the right project, but is it the right time for that project at the right...
Yeah, and I think sometimes, I mean, I don't take my no's personally. I mean, although like each project is personal to me, I like to understand why it's a no, you know. And sometimes it might just not be a good fit for that company, period, because of what they want to finance. You know, with one that we had, horror, we still have it. It was a no because it was a period piece. So you modernize it, it might be a yes. And when we go back out, we'll find out. But it's a great story and it's a great film. And it was just that everyone is like, I'm not doing period right now. I'm not doing, okay, cool, I'll make it modern and then see what happens. But I could go like, oh no, and just leave it because it's got to be what it is. And it's never going to be made. And, you know, that's a shame. I think it's about listening to the no, the reason behind the no. And if you can adjust that, then why not? And then, you know, it will land somewhere. I think of like the notes behind the notes. When people give you notes and you're like, what? You got to figure out what they're really saying, you know. So for me, a no is never a no until it's a no.
So for people who are listening to or watching this and trying to find, you know, okay, thinking, okay, that's really interesting. What should people do if they want to they want to support your work or follow you or do what are we telling people to how do they get more joy in their life?
They get more joy? I don't know, go buy Blue Story, go buy Boxing Day. When Animal comes out, go buy that too. Yeah. I think it's about, you know, for me, it's about how do we support the cinema that we're making. Yeah. I get really frustrated with this idea of like, you know, nobody goes to watch like black films when they come out. We ourselves are very guilty of that. Like when a film comes out, just go support, go watch it, because it means other people can do bigger and better things. So, you know, ultimately, I think it's about supporting the work as and when it comes out. Yeah, that's it. Support the filmmakers, all of that.
So look, it's been amazing to kind of have this conversation with you. I mean, some of it's I know some of it veered into kind of personal business consultancy, and forgive me for that. Do you know what I mean?
I hoped I helped.
No, you did. You really did, and it's really fun because I you know, it you know, part of what you do is so much about supporting new voices and supporting voices and trying to give people a platform and helping them. And that's so much about what we want to do as well. And obviously we're doing it in a slightly different way, but we also recognise that part of the way that you do it is like slightly should be part of what we should be doing as well.
Yeah, I just think it's about how can we support each other a lot more. And I look at our friends across the pond in the Americas and I think what they've done really well is use each other as a support system to get to a place where you can leverage more of yourself in Hollywood. And I think there's so much more that we can do here, whether that be in how we work together, how we create together, how we distribute together. I think it's about that collectivization. Because, you know, my thing is always, I'm not trying to change the system because I think, you know, it's there, it's been built. But I want to figure out how can we learn from that system and then create our own that works alongside it. And I think to do that, it just means we have to be a bit more interconnected in how we create work. And by that, I just mean like, whether that be if you're an actor who's black or whatever, and you've got a platform, if you go, actually, I want to work with this black producer or this black director, like, what that does for that person to elevate them and in tandem with you and you using your leverage. But then together you're creating something that's quite particular, but also works well for whatever it is that you're making. But also then as a collective, you feel like, okay, great, I want to work with this distributor. Or what, like, just, I think, how can we leverage ourselves together in order to create an industry where we don't have to continuously explain our work or even like show that people want to come and watch black films. You know, it's always that thing of the biggest consumer of like black music, not even black people, you know, everybody else. So
well, look, I'm going to take that as an offer to work together, right? And I look forward to doing that. And right now, all I can do is say thank you so much for being part of today's show. Ladies and gentlemen, Joi Gharoro-Akpojotor on Soulcast.
Yes, thank you.
Like and subscribe.